Imagine Africa not as a blank map to be drawn on, but as a tapestry of mighty empires. Gold flowing through desert caravans, scholars in Timbuktu, royal courts in Benin and Ethiopia. This was Africa before European conquest, and its legacy still echoes today. Welcome to African Kingdoms Before Colonization. Stay with us. This is not an origin story. It's a reminder of what was, and a foundation for what can be again. Long before European powers arrived, Africa was home to kingdoms, empires, city-states, and federations that built wealth, knowledge, art, and political order. These societies traded across deserts, along rivers, and by sea. They minted coins, they built monumental architecture, they nurtured centers of learning. Understanding these kingdoms is crucial. It combats the myth that Africa lacked history before colonialism, and it recenters Africa as an active agent in world civilization. Let us journey through a few of the most remarkable kingdoms that shaped Africa's pre-colonial past, their rise, their systems, their achievements, and how they laid cultural foundations that survive today. In northeastern Africa, the Kingdom of Kush emerged in Nubia, modern-day Sudan, from as early as 2500 BCE. The Kushites adopted and adapted Egyptian culture, pyramids, writing, gods, but also asserted independent identity. At times they even ruled Egypt, the 25th Kushite dynasty, around 700 BCE. Later, as Kush waned, the Kingdom of Aksum, in modern Ethiopia, Eritrea, rose, from roughly the 1st century CE into the 7th, 8th centuries. Aksum controlled Red Sea trade, had its own script, Ge'ez, minted coins, and became one of the first African states to adopt Christianity as a state religion. These states demonstrate that African kingdoms were not static or isolated. They were linked to global trade, faith networks, and political innovation. In West Africa's Sahel region, powerful empires rode the wealth of gold, salt, and trans-Saharan trade. Ghana Empire, 6th to 13th centuries, also known as Ouagadougou, controlled gold and trade routes between the forests and the Sahara. When Ghana declined, Mali Empire rose, 13th to 17th centuries. Under rulers like Mansa Musa, Mali became legendary for wealth, scholarship, Timbuktu, and Islam as a state religion. At its height, the Songhai Empire, 15th to 16th centuries, extended Mali's legacy, controlling vast territory, maintaining centers of learning, and dominating trade routes until its fall in the late 1500s. These empires show how African states organized large territories, collected revenue, supported scholars, and managed diplomacy. Beyond the Sahel, forest and river kingdoms flourished. The Kingdom of Benin, in modern Nigeria, from about the 12th century until the 19th, was famed for its bronze sculpture, palace architecture, trade and diplomacy with Europeans, pre-colonial period. The Yoruba city-states and kingdoms, Ife, Oyo, etc., developed rich political and religious systems, urban growth, arts, Ife terracotta sculpture. Ife and Benin were early centers in Nigeria. In Central Africa, the Kingdom of Kongo, upper summer 14th century onward, became a powerful polity, trading in ivory, copper, and adopting, later, Christianity through contact with the Portuguese. Elsewhere, smaller but influential states like the Tanjore Kingdom in Darfur, 15th to 17th centuries, show how kingdoms adapted Islam and local traditions in the Sahel-Sahara fringe. These kingdoms illustrate diversity. African civilization was not monolithic, but plural, adaptive, creative. In the southern reaches of Africa, the Kingdom of Great Zimbabwe, c. 11th-15th centuries, built massive stone cities without mortar, capturing trade networks in gold, ivory, and cattle across the interior and to the coast. Its successor, the Mutapa Empire, controlled the region around Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and beyond from the 15th century onward, exerting influence over trade to the Indian Ocean coast. These southern African polities highlight skilled architecture, trade integration, and political organization beyond the Sahel and Nile. These kingdoms were more than curiosities of history. They are part of Africa's legacy and identity. They provide 1. Cultural foundations, art, language, belief systems, urban traditions traceable to pre-colonial eras. 2. Historical legitimacy. They validate claims to sovereignty, rooted civilization, and African agency. 3. Economic memory, trade networks, resource management, agricultural techniques still resonate. 4. Political models, federations, centralization, diplomacy, alliances, and conflict resolution existed long before colonial rule. When we know these histories, we rewrite the narrative. Africa was not blank before colonization, it was rich, diverse, and powerful. Of course, these kingdoms also faced internal stresses, succession disputes, droughts, overextension, warfare, and external pressures such as shifting trade routes or contact with foreign states. For example, the Songhai Empire collapsed under internal conflict and Moroccan invasion. Great Zimbabwe declined likely due to environmental stress and shifts in trade. The Kingdom of Kongo eventually confronted Portuguese colonial forces. Still, the transformation was rarely abrupt. Many of these states evolved, merged, or became bases of resistance or adaptation under colonial rule. Africa's pre-colonial kingdoms were not relics. They were vibrant centers of governance, commerce, faith, and creativity. Their legacies persist in language, culture, art, and the very idea of African dignity. If you believe Africa's past must be remembered, subscribe to Echoes of Africa. Join us as we continue unveiling these lost worlds, and tell us, which African kingdom inspires you most? Mali, Aksum, Great Zimbabwe, or Benin? Let us know in the comments.